we gain about 90% of our annual weight in the last 6 weeks of the year. That's right now. We typically, it's not that the whole year you're doing terrible and you're slowly gaining weight throughout the entire year. It's typically like you're on track, you're kind of hovering, maybe you gain a couple, lose a couple. And then the last 6 weeks of the year, we gain 10, 15, 20 pounds. January hits, we lose 5 or 10. March hits, we get sick and tired of it. And we just have this slow annual growth of the last 6 weeks, spiking the weight up, and then it kind of hovers and then spiking the weight up again the last 6 weeks of the next year. I went to school with Emily.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we went to Mowat together, graduated the same year. I was really good friends with Chris Brake for a while, like when we were in school and stuff.
Yep.
So that's kind of how I knew her a little bit at the time. And yeah.
Nice. Cool. Yeah. Well, why don't you, I mean, Christian said you're really involved in fitness and whatnot. And so tell me a little bit about what that means.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, just like what I'm currently doing. And
yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm an online health and fitness coach. I prioritize helping millennials typically lose 15 to 30 pounds, 15 to 30 pounds, and help them get their habits in check. Because I think a lot of times people around my age, about 30 right now, and people around my age, oftentimes they're transitioning from working, regular jobs into something more of a career, having a family, buying a house, stuff like that. Their fitness starts to slow down, and they used to do a lot of 5-day a week, 1 to 2 hour workouts, and had a lot more time and energy to put into that. And now with all these other things that they're doing, other priorities that they have in life, they have a hard time being able to manage staying fit or maintaining a high level of fitness. And there's this kind of disconnect I find with a lot of people between the effort and time required to be fit versus what they actually need to do. So I just help them simplify the process. I bring them into my app, teach them how to track their food properly, make better food decisions, and then give them a customized workout routine that they can apply on a day-to-day basis, whether it's 3 days a week or 5 days a week or whatever they have access to. So basically just helping clear the path and making there less barriers and lower barriers for people being fit.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, like most people, and we're all usually really good at making excuses, right? What we don't think we have time to do, and what we don't think we want to do. Myself, yeah. I'm kind of newer to the game, but been involved in fitness my whole life. I've done everything from Ironman events to mountain biking to marathons and running. Although that was my least favorite part. Cool. Running, I just found kind of monotonous and never really enjoyed it. Just thought it was something I should be doing. So did that. But I mean, and just so you know, my whole intention for this isn't really anything to do with promotion per se. It's just, I'm trying to talk to people and different aspects involved in the fitness industry and see kind of what their passions are, what their take is on different things. And
that's awesome.
The goal is to just kind of spread the word. I was joking with somebody the other day. I was talking with a client and they're like, well, what do you do? Like, what is your goal? And I'm like, I was thinking about it and I'm like, really? I would describe myself as a fitness missionary. Like, I just want to spread the gospel of fitness. That's what I want to do.
That's awesome. That's a cool perspective.
I think it's important for people, especially my age. I'm in my mid 50s and, we become better at making excuses as we get older, right? So I love that one. So that's cool. Well, so you're doing just like a one-on-one coaching or online? What's your main kind of emphasis?
Yeah, it's all 100% online. It's all 100% one-to-one. So a lot of times, like, some people have never heard or seen what it looks like. They get really confused. They think that maybe we're going to jump on like a Zoom call every time they go to the gym and I'm going to count their reps for them or something like that. It's nothing like that. Right. Essentially what I do is I start off with a discovery call just to make sure that we're a good fit. I want to make sure that we can actually vibe well. We both like and appreciate each other. I'm pretty crass in my delivery with some things, so they need to be coachable. They need to be okay with me being raw and authentic, and I need to know where their head's at and what their priorities are and stuff. So we start with that call, and then assuming everything goes well and we both like each other, I get them onboarded into my training app, and that app's called EverFit, and that's basically the central hub. It's kind of like, I don't know if you use any apps with in-person. I used to do it with in-person a little bit too, but there's some that are called, like, there's one that's Trainerized, there's Coach AI, there's a ton of different. So I use one it's called Everfit. It's really, really nice. I've used a couple others in the past, but this one seems to be like the most smooth, easy, accessible thing for everybody to use. It has its own kind of like community pages and stuff. So kind of take like a Facebook group and they have it built inside their app so people don't need to be on multiple different platforms. And essentially what I do is I start off in week 1 and onboarding with getting them to do a couple assessment workouts. And typically for most people, it's literally just going to be, I want to see a body weight lunge, a body weight squat, and some push-ups. And I just want to see what their general fitness level is and their technique. I'll then send them a screen recording of me voice over their video talking about the things they need to fix and critique a little bit. And in that first week, it's really mostly about building really good habits around nutrition and understanding how to track their food properly. So my approach when it comes to nutrition is moving big rocks. Like, let's focus on the simple things that are going to keep us lean and healthy. I find that 99% of everybody's ailments and issues and diseases that they have stem from being unhealthy and overweight. So if we can tackle that as the number one problem, then we can address those other things if they still happen to be apparent. So we'll start off with getting them to track their food for 7 days straight, using a digital food scale, weighing out those foods, putting it into the app called MyFitnessPal. I've personally used it for 10 years. It's free. Anybody can use it. And then understanding just generally where their calories are at on a daily basis. From there, I'm then going to give them specific numbers. After 7 days of data, now I know more about where their metabolism's at, how many calories they're consuming, their activity level, we're tracking their steps, and we're kind of getting a bit of a gauge that way. And then I'll give them specific amount of calories to eat. They get a bit of flexibility, so over under like 100 calories from your target, specific amount of protein, and then keep carbs and flats flexible. Here's a grocery list with a variety of different awesome, really easy to make whole foods. Utilize these, get creative. I'm not going to give you a meal plan. Hit your protein target, stick within your calories, do that 7 days a week, and we're going to get some really badass results. So that's the nutrition component of it. After I get their consultation form and I see their technique with their first little assessment workouts, then I'll create a custom workout plan based on how much time they want to spend in the gym, how many days they want to go, what exercise equipment they're comfortable with, what their goals are, obviously those things. And that's delivered again through the app. So they're able to open up the workout day 1. It'll give them their warm-up, little 15-second video of me doing the exercise so they know how to see it done properly. They enter in their weights that they lift, hit finish at the end of their workout. And over time, we're tracking the data on how much weight they're lifting and how many reps and the overall volume and tweaking those numbers every 6 or 8 weeks just to help get some progressive overload happening for them and making some cool gains.
Nice. Yeah. So it sounds like it's pretty simple. People can do. They just kind of film themselves, record themselves working out. They upload those videos. You kind of assess them. So they don't need to be a professional videographer or anything. They just can use their phone. Something like that.
And I only require them to do it in their first assessment. So for people who are a little bit more advanced, we figure that out all on the call when they first start. And, if they're already squatting some pretty heavy weights, they're comfortable doing deadlifts and stuff, then I'll change those assessments up. I'll make them do some Bulgarian split squats, barbell squats, bench press, things like that. And they're only required to send that in week 1. After that, they don't need to send them to me, but I like it when they send at least one video a week where I can just take a look at their form. And a lot of times, after form improves a lot, it's then the effort thing. They really don't know what RPE 10 really truly feels like. So when they can send a video and they're like, this is RPE 10, and I see their last rep, they go, no, it wasn't. It was RPE 7. You have 2 more reps in there. And when we can unlock that next level of effort, then that's where you know what it's like. Those last couple reps, especially when it comes to muscle building and getting strong, those last couple reps are essential. It's not even a I want to or optional thing. Those first 7 or 8 reps were really just getting you fatigued enough to get to those final 2 that really counted. So it just gives them a higher level bit of accountability.
Mm-hmm. Do you find so someone who's just starting their kind of fitness journey, they're just they know they should get in shape. They don't really know what that means. We throw that word around a lot. We need to be in better shape. Well, what does that mean, really, right? But for someone who's just starting out, I hear from some people that it's just so overwhelming. I'm supposed to eat these foods and I'm supposed to do these exercises, and I don't have time to do it. And you might hear that one a lot. I don't have time. What kind of a time commitment is someone looking at when they're just starting out in their journey?
That's such a great question. I think that and I try to cover this in my discovery call with people too. I let them know that on average you're going to need to spend we need 5 hours of time a week to get this done, and that's including the meal preparation and the workouts. Most people are going to do great. Like if I can get them to commit to 4 days a week for 45 minutes a day to lift weights, like we can do incredible things with that time. And the other 1 hour, call it, is like your meal preparation for the week. So we'll keep things very, very simple. We're going to batch up a bunch of beef. We're going to batch up a bunch of chicken breasts, potatoes, pasta noodles. Just get those core foundational parts of your diet. I like to think of calories as like a daily budget. And if we know that your lunch and your dinner is each going to be, say, 500 calories, maybe you're going to have a dessert at the end of the night. I encourage my clients to. I have ice cream every single night, and eggs and toast for breakfast is super easy. There's no preparation taken. But the things that take time, like making your lunch and making your dinner, if we cook that once a week, maybe twice a week at the beginning of the week, all you got to do is take that giant tub of beef that's all cooked up and portion it into your container. And maybe you slap some cottage cheese in there, chop up some veggies, and that's your lunch. It's a very high protein, high fiber lunch, keeps them satiated. So it takes no more time than it does to go on Uber Eats and try to pick your favorite place you want to order food from, and then wait for it to come to the door, and then you're spending $30 on lunch every day. Like it saves you time and money. It's really just more of a perception and like a mental barrier than anything else, in my opinion.
For sure. Yeah, I think if people would just get this idea in their head of what a portion of food is, right? When we go to eat, most of us would order a plate of pasta, and maybe it's chicken fettuccine Alfredo, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds bad. Hey, there's chicken in there. I got my protein, there's carbs, pasta, that's okay. But the plate comes, and it's this gigantic thing filled with pasta, maybe a couple little pieces of chicken on there,
yeah,
covered in this delicious tasting sauce, you know.
yeah.
So, you know, we feel we've eaten a lot of food, but maybe our portions are kind of out of whack, you know. And yeah, it's I think a change in mentality that people need is, and I love getting people to write down their foods.
Nice.
Because as soon as you have to write something down, you look at that at the end of the day, you're like, whoa, I ate all of that, you know. So yeah, and snacking is a huge one, right? I mean, we can get our
Absolutely.
like 1,000 calories in with a bag of potato chips and, you know, some ice cream. But what kind of calories are those?
There.
Yeah, for sure. There's kind of a big talk these days. It's everywhere. Protein. Protein is everything. I mean, you can buy protein candy, you can buy protein coffee, you can buy protein. Is that something new? How important is it? Like, why are we all sitting hearing all about this today?
I think that protein is super important. I think that we should definitely be aiming to get, ideally in a perfect world, 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight. Ideal body weight is relative to everybody, obviously. Somebody who needs to lose, where it becomes like not as straightforward as somebody who needs to lose a significant amount of weight. Obese people don't need to eat 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. A 300-pound female trying to eat 300 grams of protein, that is a massive shift that would be unrealistic for most people, because to get to a place where you're 100 pounds overweight, there's more than just like exercise and diet at hand. There's a lot of mental work that's going to need to be taken in place. And if you have kids, that's going to be a huge part of it. And if you have a partner, then sex life is obviously going to take a huge part of it. Like, there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes for people that makes it really hard to just say, oh, just eat enough protein. I think protein's really important because, of course, like building muscle, repairing muscle tissue, like that's great. We know that stuff, but it's even that much more important for people who are overweight, who are trying to eat in a calorie deficit, because protein is the most satiating nutrient that you can consume. So we know that, of course, 1 gram of protein is 4 calories. Same thing with carbs, 4 calories, and 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. So they're all the actual caloric load that you're taking on is going to be equal between carbs and proteins. But if you have more proteins in your diet and less carbs in your diet, not because carbs are bad, but because we probably are already eating more than we need if we're 100 pounds overweight or 50 or 30, whatever. But if we can just replace some of those calories in your 2,000 calorie diet, let's assume, have a higher amount of protein and a lower amount of carbs, but the calories are the same, at the end of the day, you're going to be more satiated and less likely to have more snacks, because protein is going to fill you up. So it's kind of a buffer against that food noise. And I think that that's really important for people, especially when you're trying to lose weight, because 99% of people know what they need to do to lose weight. They don't need to be told. It's not a lack of information. There's not a knowledge gap. They know they need to eat better food. They know they need to exercise. And they try doing that and they fall off after 3 weeks because, one, their calorie deficit's probably way too tight and they can't adhere to that. And then two, they're starving their ass off. And if they can just increase the amount of protein that they're eating, they're going to feel a lot more satiated and more likely to stick to that diet.
For sure. Yeah. So if I'm 200 pounds and I want to get down to 165 pounds, I'm going to be eating for that target weight, not for the weight that I'm currently.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with getting up to 200 grams of protein in a day, but calories are king and that's going to dictate your weight. So if you are going to at 100 or if at 200 pounds, you want to get to 165 and you can eat 165, but you're like, man, I'm real hungry still. Well, one thing that you could do, there's a lot of things, you get more activity in. Activity is a buffer against hunger too. It's going to help lower your hunger sensation. So activity, getting your steps in, drinking a lot of water, diet sodas are awesome. Go for it. In my opinion, crush a bunch. You'd have to have 19 to 40 per day to have any kind of negative side effects. So I have 2 to 3 to 4 a day, just because I like them. Water, diet sodas, activity, lots of fiber in your diet, lots of protein. So if you're going to increase that protein above and beyond what that target is, if you have a target of 165 grams of protein, but you're like, I'm going to have more protein, that's fine. But that doesn't mean you're allowed to have more calories. You're going to have to cut back even more on carbs and fats to get to your calorie target and eating more protein. So,
right.
Yeah.
Right. What do you think people can do? I know a lot of people, especially this time of year that's coming up, they're going to be like, okay, January's coming. I'm doing it now. This is it. And they've probably said that 30, 40 times in their life, right?
Yeah.
What can people do to kind of set themselves up for success? Because we know that most resolutions are broken within a week or two, right? They're just gone. So, what are some tips for somebody that could, in order to help them stay on track with their goals?
Cool. Like getting started, like for January, you're saying?
Well, for any time they're going to get started, yeah.
Yeah, I think particularly around this time of year, like this is where people get really anxious because we have the holidays coming up and people are stacking a bunch of celebrations and trips and stuff like that. So it's not just like one day of Christmas. There's New Year's is right after that. And there's like my dad's birthday is on the 20th. My stepdad's birthday is on the 21st. They're both named Kevin. Really weird. But we have like a ton of stuff going on the last 6 weeks of December. And it's been shown actually that 90 or 95% of North America, we gain about 90% of our annual weight in the last 6 weeks of the year. That's right now. We typically, it's not that the whole year you're doing terrible and you're slowly gaining weight throughout the entire year. It's typically like you're on track, you're kind of hovering, maybe you gain a couple, lose a couple, whatever. And then the last 6 weeks of the year, we gain 10, 15, 20 pounds. January hits, we lose 5 or 10. March hits, we get sick and tired of it. And we just have this slow annual growth of the last 6 weeks, spiking the weight up, and then it kind of hovers and then spiking the weight up again the last 6 weeks of the next year. So, I mean, the first thing I would say is like, be honest with yourself. If you've been trying this over and over and over again, and you've tried all these different diets and you haven't been able to stick to anything, just get honest, get humble, hire somebody. Like when I'm investing in a coach for anything, whether it's business or fitness or whatever, because I've had personal trainers, even as a coach myself too. It's like, I want to pay for speed and I want to pay for getting it done faster rather than troubleshooting over and over and over again. And if you've been doing it for 5, 10, 15 years, every single January, like give your head a shake. What is like now you have to zoom out and look at the cost of time versus the price tag of investing in somebody to help you out with that. So that would be the first thing I would say in terms of practical things they can do for free right away. I mean, right now is a great time for people to actually get started with their calorie deficit, with their diet, because here's the thing, like, and I tell all my clients this, on your birthday, like, just do your thing, have fun, don't track, go have some drinks, eat some food. It's the very next day, get your ass back in gear and get started again on the 26th. Don't wait until the new year. You don't need time to relax and chill out. Just get back to things right away. So right now, I mean, if people were to start working on getting a proper diet in place, just at the very least, like some of my bigger clients who have that like 80 to 100 pounds to lose, just get more protein in. Like, we're not even looking at calories. But if we ask them to just eat more protein, I know they're not going to eat as many calories by the end of the day.
Right.
So start by eating more protein now, being more mindful of your activity, and set yourself up now to not be digging yourself out of a hole in the new year. Because if you can lose 10 pounds would be a big number, but it depends on how big you are and whatever. But if you lost like 5 or 10 pounds between now and Christmas, I mean, you've given yourself a really good head start. You got a lot of momentum heading into the new year, and you got a lot of proof behind you too. 4 weeks of dieting between now and December 25th is like, that's proof. You can look back and be like, no, I can do hard things, rather than constantly pushing it and pushing it and pushing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think some of the problems people face is there's so much information coming at them, right? You can go online and you find, man, there's just so much stuff. Eat this, don't eat this. And the next guy says, no, eat this, don't eat that. You know, it's what do I do? And I think someone on their own can be a little bit overwhelmed. And so I totally agree that I think at some point in their life, everyone should have a coach, at least for a while, you know, give them somewhere to start, give them some tools so they can succeed on their own. Yeah, that's great stuff. So you've been involved in this industry for what, 10, 15 years?
Yeah, it was 2016 is when I started working at the gym. So in the industry at that point, yeah. And then supplement store for a year and a half, manager of the gym that I was working at originally for 3.5, and then 3.5 years of doing it online now.
Okay. If you could go back and talk to your younger self, so talk to 20-year-old Taylor, what advice would you give them?
In terms of fitness and health, of course. Yeah. My story is I'm really privileged to have had like the upbringing that I had. We got really dialed in with our nutrition when I was probably 7 or 8 years old. Just in the house, like, the story is, to shorten, to keep it as tight as I can, my mom had a breast cancer scare, and so my dad started diving into all these natural health books and organic foods and how processed foods, chemicals, pesticides, and all that kind of stuff can impact our hormones and our bodies so much. So we got really, really clean with our food when I was a young kid, and had a personal trainer at 11 years old. My dad hired one for me so that we could, become the best football player that I could be. So nice. I had a really, really good upbringing that was like centered around health and fitness. And by the time I was 20, I had a relatively good base and knowledge around fitness and nutrition. That being said, if I could still go back and advise myself from 10 years ago, being 30 now, talking to my 20-year-old self, he'd probably first off tell me to get lost. But my advice to him would be to keep focusing on strength training while supplementing my fitness with other forms of exercise that I really enjoy. And the reason why I say that is because I think strength comes first. I think we need to prioritize being strong people. And in terms of what you're doing in the gym, and if you're overweight, of course, eating a calorie deficit, you can do both at the same time. There's no issue with that. Getting strong is the foundation, in my opinion, of what everything else is going to do for your fitness and how you can be fit in other areas. So if you're weak, you're going to have a weak core. You're going to be more likely to get injured in virtually everything that you do. If you're just focusing on building muscle all the time, then maybe you're going to be a little bit stiff. You're not going to have good movement patterns. Maybe not be as fluid when you're running and stuff like that. So people don't typically run once they hit 20 years old, 30 years old, or stop playing sports. So people are not running, definitely not sprinting that much. I would incorporate that a couple times a week, but I would make strength a big priority, getting as strong as I can 3 days a week, of focusing on that. And using that as my foundation for fitness for forever. Yeah.
Do you find ever that because this is your occupation, you are involved in this industry, you're constantly giving people advice, and I'm sure trying to get educated as you go as well, continuing education. Do you ever feel kind of like a burnout, like you get kind of like, this is just too much? In other words, does it inhibit your own training?
It definitely does not inhibit my own training, thankfully. I feel really grounded with what I know, and I focus on that, which is honestly in terms of all the things, health and fitness, nutrition and hormones and all the, now there's peptides and all this stuff, and even just taking hormone replacement therapy for people. Like, I don't know much of any of that stuff at all. And I don't pay much attention to it. It's nice to know those things if you're an advanced lifter or if you have hormonal issues and stuff like that. Then those things are helpful for those people, and I'll be happy to point them in the right direction. But for me, it's moving the big rocks. It's strength training 3+ days a week. For me, it's about 4 days a week right now. Making sure that you're getting enough steps in, drinking enough water. I can see how people could get overwhelmed, especially when they don't know where to start or where to go, because you're getting pulled in so many different directions by people who have very large platforms. There's, people like Gary Brecka who preach just one specific thing. And then you have Mel Robbins who preaches other things, and so many other like really big people with lots and lots of influence. It's hard to not think that they would absolutely know 100% the right direction, but they're talking about completely different things. For me, again, it's just moving big rocks, focusing on your nutrition, eating good quality food. And that includes, for me, that includes pasta almost every day. That includes ice cream almost every single day. But those are small percentages of my overall calorie budget, where I'm getting a lot of protein and eggs and my vegetables and my fruit in, and I get my 10,000 steps, and I train really hard, and I'm consistent, and I've been doing that for 20 years. So a lot, 20% of my calories towards some pasta and ice cream, I think is a good trade-off.
You talked a little bit about before, you mentioned, pushing yourself in the gym, and people have different ideas of what that means. If you say, yeah, push yourself to a 10, that can mean different things for different people. How do you get past, or how does you help someone get past this idea of what is hard and what is not hard? In other words, yes, you're working, you're pushing yourself. How hard does someone need to push themselves?
That's such a good question. I think I do everyone a disservice to give you a black and white answer, because very rarely is fitness black and white. There's a lot of nuance to that. So to start, I think generally everybody will benefit immensely from training really, really hard twice a week. And I think that the other two actual genuine workout hard sessions still, they should be maybe at like an 8 or a 9 out of 10 intense effort. And then there should be a bunch of low intense effort days where it's literally just steps. Like on the weekend, most people should just go for a nice little hike at a conversational pace. That's a great low impact activity that's going to serve you really, really well in the future. How hard to push? Oh, that's one barrier that is harder to overcome for newer people when working with a strictly online coach, because I'm not there to count that next rep and to tell you whether or not you can or can't. The really simple answer, I would say, if you're like, okay, this workout is one of those really hard ones that I have to push really hard that Taylor talked about, 2 out of 7 days a week. Ask yourself, I know this can sound dark, but this is just like a simple way for everybody to understand this. Can you do one more rep to save your life? Like, is it possible for you to do on that leg press? I know it hurts really bad. I know that your legs are burning up. I know you're involuntarily slowing down, but can you do one more? If you took just a half-second rest at the top before you let that weight come back down again, and you braced really hard and you pulled your ass into that chair with your hands, took a deep breath and held it and squeezed with all your might, close your eyes and grit your teeth, could you get one more rep? And if you don't know the answer, you should give it a shot. In worst case scenario, the weight falls down, there's a safety guard that stops it from killing you, and you'll be just fine. And now you know what the ceiling is, and that's great. I think it's good to know what that ceiling is every now and then.
Right. And that ceiling should be shifting as well, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you can lift 60 pounds 10 times and you do it, for the next, 12 weeks, you're not really growing. And that's where you talk about the need for progressive overload, and those types of things. Yeah. And I love what you said before about, it's those last 2, 3, sometimes 4 reps of that exercise. Those are where you're going to see the extreme benefit of it. And if you stop before that, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice. You're there already. You're
already there. It's not going to take any more time.
Give it a go. Yeah.
Yeah. Just go for it. And this is something that I tell my clients too. For most, there's a lot of exercises, almost all machine exercises, some free weight ones, not the squat or the deadlift, of course, but there's some exercises where like it's okay if you can't get the full rep again. Like you've done your 8 or 9, maybe the goal was to get 10, and at 6 you've hit a wall and there's nothing left. That's fine. Go for another partial reps. We would call it the lengthened end of the exercise. So let's imagine if we were doing a bicep curl, the lengthened range would be when your elbows fully extended and arms down by your side, and you are able to curl that weight up to the 50% mark where your forearm is parallel with the floor. You don't have enough strength anymore to get it all the way up to the top, but that doesn't mean stop. Do 3 or 4 of those lengthened partials, and you're going to get immense benefit out of that. And there's a very low risk of injury because you're not cranking the weight up and swinging your back and all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
I love how you've mentioned a couple times already this idea of moving big rocks. And I was talking to a friend a couple weeks ago, and she has this phrase. She borrowed it from a trainer that she had years ago, but the phrase was small hinges move big doors. And it said the idea of like moving those big doors, those big rocks. Mm-hmm. They start with little things, little steps, And so, yeah, if you have this goal of, I want to be this, it doesn't mean that tomorrow you're going to get there, but we got to build up. We got to build up to that. And each one of those things is moving that door open a little bit. It's moving that rock a little further down the way. And yeah, I think some people have a negative connotation when it comes to lifting weights and having a coach or a trainer. They think well, lifting weights for bodybuilders. Having a coach is for the elite of the elites in society. Yeah, I don't know if you've heard it before, but people, often women will say, "Well, I don't want to lift weights because I don't want to get big." What's your reaction to that?
It's funny, obviously. I mean, as somebody who's has even a small knowledge base around how weight training works, especially for females, you're not going to get big or bulky. It doesn't work. It doesn't work for the guys who have great genetics and are going to the gym for 20 years, busting their ass, trying to actively get big and bulky with all that testosterone behind them. Those guys are still 20 years later going, damn, my calves are small. That's me. My calves are still small, So as a female, one, you physiologically, you can't. You don't have the testosterone, the joints, the hormones to allow you to get quote unquote bulky. If you ever feel as a female, and this will sting a little bit for people hearing this, but if you ever feel like, every time I lift weights, I get bulky, the reason why is because when you start lifting weights, you start increasing your activity. And by default, that's going to raise your metabolism slightly, even just a little bit. But it's going to be enough for you to increase your hunger too. And because you're not controlling your calories, you start overcompensating for that extra activity in the weight room by eating even more food than you were before. And because of that, you don't look defined or toned or lean. It's not because you need to pick up pink dumbbells and do 30 reps of curls, because that's not working. That's great for cardio, good for like an active rest day, something to get a little bit of movement in if you like doing that stuff. Go for your walk and pump your dumbbells. But if you want to look toned and lean and muscular, but not be ripped or jacked or buff or whatever those terms are that us guys love to use and women get scared of, you would do really, really well to do virtually the exact same workout plan as that big buff jacked up dude, but just control your calories, because your calories will determine where your body weight is. Your macronutrients, the carbs, fats, and proteins are going to determine how you look. So if you eat enough protein and you're limited but reasonable with your carbs and fats, you keep the calories in check at a rate that's going to allow you to lose weight, but you train really hard. And what I like to tell my clients is work out like you're bulking and eat like you're cutting. If you do both of those things in combination, you're going to have really good muscle tone that you can see. You're going to feel really strong, and you're going to have a physique that you're going to love. You're not going to be bulky and big.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that in the past, I've been working out quite a bit. Never watched what I ate, I was like, man, I'm putting on size, but I'm not seeing in this muscle. Like, where's my six pack that I've been working on so hard? Mm-hmm. You start to add in the nutritional component, watching what you're eating, and you realize, oh, I had a six pack all along. It was just covered with this layer, this layer of stuff that, I was eating. Um, so yeah, I think we gotta keep those two things, the exercise and the nutrition, kind of in balance and the same. Otherwise, and that's where you've noticed too, and I'm sure you tell your clients, that's where you start seeing results, is when you really start being proactive about what you're shoving in your pie hole.
100%.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think people have an unrealistic expectation what being in shape and being conditioned looks like? In other words, we see these pictures online of, the perfect physique, someone who is just absolutely shredded. There's not an ounce of fat visible. They look just spectacular. Their waist is tiny. Their shoulders are big. Do you think that when we look at that, what do you tell people? Like, is that a realistic expectation, to look like this? And is that even a good goal to have? Is
Yeah,
that motivation?
that's a great question. I think that given the description that you give me, that's probably unrealistic. Like the quote unquote perfect physique where there's no fat on them. For guys, these guys are six packed abbed and their arms are bulging out and everything. Um, it's unrealistic for most people, but again, it comes with so much nuance. It's like, what is your goal and how much time are you going to be putting into this? What other external factors do you have in place? What are your habits like? If you're if you have 30 pounds to lose, you've got a career and a couple kids, and you're like, I can only really go to the gym for 30 minutes, 3 days a week. I want to be 10% body fat at 200 pounds and be able to bench press double my body weight. I would tell them that's extremely unrealistic. We need to really scale down what we think we can do. Um, if they have a ton of time and they don't have those external factors, they're working a regular 9 to 5, and they've already been really committed to the gym 5, 6 days a week, and they want to add 10 pounds of muscle in a year, it might be something that could happen. The the thing is like, what with the physiques that we see online nowadays and with AI, it is getting really scary how distorted people can make their bodies look. And it's not just like Photoshop. Like, we can see videos of people, they got body filters on where they have their waist tightened up, they're doing an exercise, they're moving. You think that you're looking at, okay, well, like, this is a real video. But you see in the background, for these people who haven't done it right, like, you could see the wall waving in and out,
Right.
right? Because their whole body's been distorted. So between the Photoshop, the really nice photos, the edits, the lighting, getting a really good pump in the gym, I was just telling my wife last night, we had a workout um, later at night at the hotel. Before the workout, I was looking at myself and I was like, feeling a little bit puffy right now. You can tell the difference between when you got a little water retention and stuff. And I felt a little puffy. My waist felt a little blown out. And we get to the gym. I did a rowing workout. Was not doing any weightlifting. I just was on the rower and ripping away at that. And once I finished up with the row, I was looking at myself and went, oh my gosh, I look incredible. And it just getting 30 minutes of doing cardio was enough to make me look totally different 30 minutes later. Now you throw in the edits, now you throw in a really, really solid diet. It is unrealistic for most people to have that idea of having a crazy, insane, really shredded physique with giant bulging muscles. But it comes down to who you are, how much time you have, what your time horizon is to get to your goal, and how much experience you have. We got to set realistic expectations based on where you're at now, what you're willing to do.
It is kind of ironic that in the pursuit of being healthy and getting involved with fitness and proper nutrition, we can end up in a really unhealthy place just for the sake of looking a certain way.
Oh, yeah.
It's terrible. My kind of target audience is people that are in their 40s and older,
Yeah.
even 50s and older. We went on a cruise a couple months ago with my mom up to Alaska, and I was looking around, and it kind of hit me that I was definitely the younger demographic of the crowd that was there. But I'm thinking, man, these people have time,
Mm-hmm.
they have the money.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them couldn't walk up a flight of stairs if their life depended on it. They wanted to do all these things. They wanted to go on these expeditions and see the bears and go look at this waterfall over there, but they just have trouble getting off the boat. And I really want to help people when they get to that stage of life, and even before they get there, but that they're able to live well, not just live long, but live well so they can enjoy to do the things they love to do. And that's kind of my shtick is I work out. I do enjoy it, but I don't live in the gym. I work out so that I can enjoy the rest of my life. And the reality is most of us, um, yeah, we have time and we can spend 5 hours, in one sitting watching Netflix, like no problem. But we'll say, oh, but I can't carve out 5 hours to work out in a week. We have the time, but the reality is people are busy. They got families, they got kids, they got jobs, they got other responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
But just to be able to carve out enough time doesn't take a whole lot of time. Like you said earlier, a little bit of meal prep, a couple sessions, 3-4 sessions a week, and you're good to go for most people. Yeah, like that. Anything else you feel is really important to share with people?
I don't know. I mean, I think that just to like finish up that note you just touched on there about, yeah, like we have the time. And I think a lot of people when they really look at their schedule and are honest with themselves, they'll accept that as a reality too, that yes, I do have the time. But then there's a lot of other things that'll pop into people's head about the doubt and disbelief in themselves. And over time, especially with the demographic that you're working with, I typically work with people somewhere between 25 and 35, maybe 40. And I have a couple people in their 60s that I'm working with. And then you're in that kind of next stage of life for those people in that 40 to 50, 60 or whatever, for the most part. The more time that you spend not taking action, the more you're building proof either way. Whether you're really fit and you've been active for 10 years, then you're going to have a lot of confidence, not just because you either look good or are confident in how you're approaching it, but the confidence comes from the proof that you've built over time. And you're building proof no matter what, whether you do it or you don't, you're building proof. And as every year passes and you don't do something, you're building more and more proof, undeniable proof that you can't do things that are hard. So the longer that you wait, you're not going to have more time. You're going to get older. You're going to be weaker. You're going to be more tired. You're going to have more weight that you have to lose. And guess what? Inflation's going to happen from your trainer like it does at the grocery store. So your trainer is going to cost more in a year from now than they did now. You're going to have less time. Your kids are going to be older. There's going to be other things that you're trying to save for and all the. So taking action fast, I think success likes speed. And the faster that we do things that are important to us, the better we're going to be for them. Again, back to that whole proof building concept, like the sooner that you take action, you start building proof, even if it's not crazy results. Like don't set expectations of, I need to lose 2 pounds every week because 52 weeks in a year, and that means I'll be down 108 or whatever pounds. But it's not going to work that way because you're going to be terribly disappointed. Like be really habit focused. And if you have a coach, let your coach take on the responsibility of being results focused. Like we're going to look at the data and make sure that you're doing everything you need to get the results that you want. But if you are expecting that every week, I need to lose a pound this week or 2 pounds this week, and you step on the scale for that 1 5-second window of time in your entire 7 days that you had, and you jumped on the scale that one time, and maybe you didn't pinch off the last little bit of your shit in the morning, or you had a little bit of extra calories the night before, you had a glass of water just before you jumped on the scale, and you allow that result that you see on the scale, that 5-second window, to affect how you operate for the rest of the week, that's a very short-sighted mindset. I think that's a very elementary way to approach your health and fitness. Yeah. Focus on your habits, take action immediately, success like speed, and it doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be something now that you can build that proof on over time, and it'll be easier to stack more positive habits in your life.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. If someone has a solid foundation going into their latter years, they're in a much better place.
Yeah.
Although at the same time, it's never too late to start, right? There's people who build muscle into their 80s. You can do it. It's just a lot harder. Yeah. I think.
I was just going to say, one of my clients, her name is Pam. She's 64. She didn't exercise or diet consistently until she was 60. When she was 60, she started listening to some fitness podcasts. She downloaded the MyFitnessPal app, started tracking her food, weighing it out by herself, joined into some free community on Facebook, and started following a free workout plan. And then did that for 4 years and lost 20 pounds by herself. And then she kind of hit a bit of a wall. one of her friends who's working with me already sent her my way, and we had a conversation, and now she's losing more weight and she's eating almost 2,000 calories at 64 years old. And she's like, holy how are we doing this kind of thing? So yeah, like you know, people start businesses and change their families' lives like for forever, the legacy of their family's future at 60 plus years old. You start exercising. You're not too old.
Yeah. Yeah, I think people need to be in it for the long haul, and it starts with the change of, and I'm guilty of this myself. I injured my back years ago, and even then at 40, I started saying, well, I guess I can't do this anymore. I started using language like, oh, I remember when, or I used to be able to, or, and you start talking yourself into something that your mind eventually believes, and it becomes your reality of who you are. I think if people can start changing the way they talk to themselves, like instead of saying, I'm out of shape, I'm fat, I can't do this, you start saying, no, I'm someone who's eats healthy and who's committed to working out. Just simple, positive things that reframes who you become.
Yeah,
we've
an
all done it
identity
before.
shift.
If you've been involved in sports or any other kind of hobby, you start hanging around those people, you start talking like that, and that's who you become.
Yeah.
So you choose, where do you want to be? Do you want to be those people who are in shape, or are you one of those people who are fat and sitting on the couch eating potato chips? You choose.
It sounds really hippy dippy to people like me, because I would think that this is lame. But when you start identifying as a fit, healthy person before you're fit and healthy, then it becomes so much easier to do the right things in those little micro moments that happen every day, where it's like having another bite of your dessert at the end when you're full and but it's in the bowl. So like, do you finish it, or do you just throw it out? Like, you don't need that. What are you saving? Like, I don't want to waste food. Like, what is the dollar value of that last bite of ice cream, and is that worth your health? The proof of, I'm going to throw this out, or taking the stairs rather than the elevator. Even Christian, I don't know if he told you this, but when we bumped into each other that night when we exchanged contact information, we were parting ways going back into the same apartment together, and he was walking into the elevator and I was walking up the stairs, and I was like, the hell are you doing, man? Like, let's just take, like, is walking up the stairs 3 flights going to change your life? Absolutely not. But it's that one little decision there and that one little decision there, and then over time it just gets so much easier to say yes to the right things and no to the wrong things. And I think that's the whole part of identifying, like, adopting the identity of a fit, healthy person before you're fit and healthy. It's so essential.
Well, I love it. Well, I appreciate you taking the time, and it's just great to talk to different people and get their perspectives. And yeah, got to get the word out there, spread the gospel.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is recorded. I didn't know this. I'm relatively new to the Riverside app thing too, but I have it connected to Facebook, so we're streaming on Facebook for anybody, and we'll have the recordings. I'll send you the recordings and the clips after too, if you want to use them or share them with friends and family and stuff. And yeah, it was awesome. Thanks so much for reaching out.
Well, thank you. All right.
Yeah. Have an amazing rest of your day. Take care.
Okay. All right.
Bye-bye.
See ya.